So this question of should companies be doing good in the world is sort of an interesting question, right? So there's a theory that companies, particularly public companies, that our singular focus should be increasing value for shareholders, profitability, value of the stock. And that's clearly why we're here, right? We don't own this company, the shareholders own the company. So it does matter that we're profitable. But there is this wider concept of companies impact the communities they're in. And whether it's, what do you pay your employees? How do you treat them in terms of the work conditions? How do you procure your product? How do you affect the environment? I think it all does matter. I think companies need to think about all that. There are lots of stakeholders in addition to shareholders.
So sustainability it's woven into the fabric of what we do.
I think sustainability means having a developed site that's better than you found it.
To us, I think it means just being most efficient and effective in all of the things that we do here.
I mean, it's obviously like an offset between the bottom line, right, and doing good in the world, but I think they can go hand in hand, and I think every company should look at how they can make that happen.
Because I think people are trying to think about the wider impact that businesses have across the community.
ESG stands for environmental, social governance.
It's more of an attitude than it is a program. You either adopt that you're going to be, environmentally conscious, sustainable, and your governance supports all of those things. And I think that's exactly what we do. Our sustainability initiatives start at the very top.
E.
E.
Oh, E.
E.
Environmental.
Environmental.
Oh, that was ridiculous, though. All right. E.
You could feel that you were on the cusp of something. We were pioneers in this movement among office developers. And I do remember very clearly Jim Lutz, who ran our development department, coming to me and saying, we're going to be doing something new. We're going to be starting to build our buildings to LEED standards. And he educated me on, what that meant.
So not every customer at the time was interested in having a LEED building. So what? Is your rent equal to the rent across the street? Because if it's not, I'm going across the street.
And one of the interesting pieces of this dialogue was in talking to our investors. As a public company, our investors are very interested in how Liberty is spending their capital.
And the very first big question that was at the time quite prevalent was, it was expensive. It would cost more to build a green building than a non-green building. Why would you do that if you couldn't get more rent?
So we started talking about something that they had never really heard that much about before, and telling them we're going to be starting to develop buildings this way. And they asked all the right questions. Tell us how it works. Tell us why it's important. Tell us why we should care. Tell us how much it costs. Tell us what the opportunities for you are. And help us understand, is this something we should know more about, and should we be asking other companies about?
And the point we made was these buildings are going to lease faster. They're going to be more valuable over time because they're going to have lower operating expenses, and people care about the total cost of occupancy. And it struck us collectively that this was a great idea, and it would be where the world would be going. And it wasn't just because it was a good thing. It would actually be a value to our shareholders, because if you had sustainable LEED buildings, you'd have valuable assets. One thing that was just emerging at the time was this concept of green buildings or LEED certified buildings.
We started pursuing LEED buildings, and that's leadership in energy and environmental design, back in 2006.
We tried to hit certain points, whether that be energy modeling, whether that be air quality.
There's LEED requirements that are put out that talk about different sustainability practices that you must meet to be certified.
It could be a silver or a gold or a platinum as a way to have people sort of think about this and then actually calibrate it and keep track of it.
So we're always going to be pursuing energy efficiency. We're always going to be putting in, these days, LED lighting. And we're always going to, from a civil standpoint, look to the way in which stormwater is handled.
The development team is focused on building LEED certified buildings. All of our new developments are LEED certified. And the operations team, when we have life cycle replacements, we're doing it in a sustainable way. It really has a huge financial impact and also an environmental impact. The Energy Star program has been great.
The Energy Star program was incredibly helpful for Liberty to be able to compare buildings and understand how they perform relative to their peer group. Performs well, their energy bills will be lower, their water bills will be lower.
The question of what is sustainability is a good question because on the one hand, people think about it in terms of energy efficiency or water conservation, but they're also very productive for our customers. And they're productive not just because they can move a lot of product through them, but because their employees enjoy working there, even though it's also saving energy.
So we're currently under construction on 2 projects in the Inland Empire, which is the big box area of Southern California. We're putting in LED lighting in both. We also incorporated water conservation measures, including native drought-resistant plants, low drip, high efficiency irrigation, as well as on the interior of the buildings, we've included low flow fixtures in the bathrooms.
When you go to the Lehigh Valley, what you'll notice, it feels like you've entered the land of the giants. Everything is bigger. Everything is very grand.
Within Lehigh Valley, what you'll probably see are clear story windows. The clear story windows will be responsible for bringing light into the warehouse. Beyond that, we're using insulation on our tilt wall panels.
Spring Creek Industrial Park was at one time all agricultural. It was farming corn, soybean mostly. Once you get down to this lower area, this naturalized area, what was required to be a walking trail has evolved into a really cool naturalized area. There's a lot of deer through here, small game, fox, coyote. It's essentially an amenity for any employees of our buildings as well as the general public. Yeah, we work really hard not to just get through the land development process, but to understand what's important to the township, not just build a building, but have a really great relationship with those folks. I love the park. I think the park is a great amenity. Initially, probably wasn't conceived to be as special as it is.
S.
S?
Social.
ESG is environmental, social, and governance. Social is social good. What we are doing to give to our communities, to be present where we are, but also in the world at large.
Looks like the hardest job here.
That's it? Yeah, that's it. What about the dance and the hula hoop?
Do you want it?
Today's Bill Rouse Day of Caring.
Today's Day of Caring. Hey, I'm painting a wall today.
Painting a bridge in the park.
We're making cards for kids with cancer. What I'm doing today? Well, we're helping sort out all these cans and the food.
Unloading trucks, breaking down boxes.
Put together bags of produce, meat, and groceries.
We're just packing food to help folks who are in need.
Painting and spreading mulch on the playground.
Re-roofing the bathroom shed for the Liberty's Day of Caring.
I'm painting benches, painted a trash can. This is a masterpiece. Just making the park look pretty.
You know, the way that we treat each other, the way we treat the vendors with which we operate, and to see, you know, the fact that our vendors are out here working with us is just an overall great thing.
It's like, you know, it's nice, especially when we all gather together, we can really accomplish something.
It makes me feel good. Like, I love giving back.
It gives me satisfaction knowing that I'm helping somebody who is less fortunate and giving them perhaps an opportunity to better themselves.
It makes you feel amazingly good.
I've been here for 21 years and I've been here for everyone.
I've been at Liberty for 12 years, and so I've gotten the opportunity to do it every year.
Hopefully people take this away from what we're doing here at Liberty and do things like this with their family, friends.
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate enough to, you know, Liberty's always, it's the type of company it is, Liberty's always looking to give back to the community. We're part of the communities we're in, so it makes you feel good to give back.
I really like the company. They're very involved in the community. And Bill Rouse was very involved in the community also.
For people who don't know, Bill Rouse was the founder of our company, Willard G. Rouse III, a visionary real estate developer.
Bill was an extraordinary human being.
I was a great guy, fun-loving, charismatic. Got business done, but like to have fun too. So worked hard, played hard.
Yeah, Bill Rouse was always known as a person who likes to give back, so this is something that we do on his birthday to commemorate his memory and kind of keep his dream going forward.
So this was a full person, a business person, civic leader, and a great human being.
And this day is in his memory.
Bill was all about making sure that you knew that what you do impacts your community and you had a responsibility to take care of your community.
Each office, each team would pick some activity in their community to give back. So it might be like we are here today, helping clean up and restore and fix up the park. People have worked at animal shelters. They've given back with children, literacy.
The legacy of who he was and how he interacted with employees lives on today.
And he did it by caring about people and caring about his communities. So that's why we love him. And we miss him.
I think Bill created a company that has a culture. It works as a team. It's very collaborative. It's a company that believes in respect for each other, respect for our customers, respect for the communities we work in. It is a company that believes in giving back.
Yeah, it's a great day to give back.
So I am proud to work at Liberty because of its ability to create an environment of inclusion, sustainability, teamwork.
I think the giving back goes way beyond the Rouse Day of Caring.
I think for me, inclusion is more a sense or a feeling than anything else. But it's also, I think, a freedom to be open and ask questions and know that you're being heard. And I think that I'm being heard here.
How's it going today?
Good, how are you?
Fantastic.
Well, to me, it means bringing different ideas and thoughts together. And I think it's really important that we think about that so that everyone does have a voice.
I think that brings great perspective and a lot of interesting ideas, innovations. It's not the same old traditional think. We really think outside the box.
And that's why I'm proud to work at Liberty Property Trust.
G.
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 Governance.
ESG, for me, the G is probably the biggest thing. It starts at the very top with our board. It starts with how they view the company and the way we're perceived by the world.
We've always had a long-term view. We think about the long haul. You know, what's going to provide value for our shareholders? What are our customers going to care about? When we build a building, it's got to stand the test of time. These are long-term investments. And so sustainability is really important for that. We want to operate in a sustainable way. We want to build a building that's going to stand the test of time and deliver efficiency and productivity back to the users of the buildings. You know, we've been very lucky because we've had board level and executive support throughout this whole journey. And in fact, they set the mandate for us to have a sustainable portfolio of real estate.
I think the importance of the investment community becoming involved in ESG matters is that it gave companies a reason to discuss it and a reason to track it. When investors become involved, when investors start to focus on a company from any standpoint, the company now has to be able to portray themselves in a different way. Words themselves don't do it. You have to actually provide proof. There has to be numbers. You have to be able to say, this is how many green buildings I've built. This is how much of my portfolio is sustainable. This is how many people I have looking at this every day. And we're going to track it, and we're going to be able to prove it.
So I think for every capital decision that we make, as long as we're thoughtful about that and we're considering the long-term view, we're making good investments in the real estate.
I mean, one of the things is like you want to evaluate the cost, right? When people are thinking about sustainability, they always assume that, you know, the cost is going to be significant. But sometimes we can find just through research that, you know, the cost isn't that bad.
Their response might be, hey, Bill, that sounds kind of interesting, but it's expensive. And as we would point out, it's only expensive, really, if you decide to build a building and at the last minute say, oh, now let's make it green and try to modify it. If you start from day one, and it's things like literally how you orient the building on a site to get more sunlight into it, or how you preserve the topography to reuse water on a site. So if you do this as it's ingrained in your whole thought process, it isn't that expensive.
So I think our approach to sustainability is unique. We don't have a department. We don't have one group that's running sustainability for Liberty. We actually all own it. Every person that works at Liberty has a sense of pride and ownership in what they're doing. And sustainability is no different. So rather than a single department or person driving sustainability, every person does their part for their respective area of responsibility. And I would just say it's just the way we do business.
It's very hard to work at Liberty Property Trust and not have a belief that a company has a responsibility to be a good citizen, to care about the communities we work in, and to care about the people who work in our buildings. It's kind of impossible at this company to not feel that way. It's kind of what we are. It's in our DNA. We've always felt that we should do the right thing. We've always felt that we have a responsibility to be more than simply a collection of buildings.
Companies have a culture, and that culture really fundamentally is that expression of ESG.
I would say that's throughout the entire organization.
I think at some point the tide's going to turn and a building will not be considered a Class A building if it is not designed, built, and operated in a sustainable way.
I'm quite proud of Liberty, and I'm quite proud of what we've done in the area of sustainability and development. There were lots of times we would be in a community and we'd be building the first LEED building or the first gold building or the first spec warehouse in North Carolina that was LEED certified. I kind of remember every one of those little events like that where we were the first and to some extent a pioneer. And it's, you know, good to see how greatly it's been embraced and how much it remains part of who we are.
We want to be a company that is known for giving it our best and, you know, giving that extra effort and going that extra mile. We're coming here to accomplish more.
Now, I wear my Liberty fleece with a lot of pride. I think when you walk around the community here, they know that we're building great buildings. We're residents here, we live here, we work here.
People didn't realize the things that we are doing. People didn't realize that we were pioneers in doing this. And now we're saying, hey, we're doing this. We've been doing this for a really long time. We've been embracing ESG all along.
I actually think there's a tremendous payback when we build and design to sustainable standards, that we have a better quality building that runs more efficiently, that leads to higher productivity for our customers. But not everybody is there yet. I think it's changing. You know, I can't put an empty water bottle in the trash can or my 10-year-old is gonna call me on it, right? So I think over time, more and more people are gonna be focused on this.
Because we're not just building for us, we're building for the next generation.
It's a much more pervasive thought process. It's international, how people think about it, the quality of the buildings, the quality of the work environment. And we all now know, I mean, the whole environmental issue is just a global issue, but this is now, I think for all of us, an issue we all think about a lot.
Liberty.
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 Liberty Property Trust.
Accomplish more.